This problem is focused on various business decisions that a company would have to make. So the first one we're looking at is special order, and this relates to Park Bench Limited. So the information concerning the cost to make these benches, it's outlined here, along with the selling price, their fixed overhead, their number of benches, and so on. So the scenario that we're going to be looking at here is a customer has come along and said, I will pay you $80 per bench and I'll order 5,000. Now, that might not seem like a good idea because your normal selling price is $250. But before you say no, it's important to actually do the calculations. So what you're looking at when you're looking at a situation for a special order, for example, you only want to look at what we call relevant cost. So relevant costs are those that are going to be impacted by the decision. So the first thing we want to do here is identify our materials. So to make the 5,000 units, how much is this going to cost? So we have our rate, it's $50 per unit of direct materials. We have our direct labor of $15 and our variable manufacturing overhead of $10. So those are the costs that we have to consider. In this situation, you are not going to incur any additional fixed manufacturing overhead. As the name implies, it's fixed. So you're going to have total overhead of $200,000 regardless of whether you make the 5,000 units or not. So the fixed portion becomes irrelevant. Similarly, the variable marketing expenses are not impacted because we're told in this problem that no additional marketing is required, and that makes sense because it's a special order. You're not having to market it. The customer is coming to you with an offer to purchase a block of units of 5,000. So here we can see the total extra expenses. So usually what you're looking at is just the cost to make the particular product. So it's the materials, the labor, and the overhead. So it's going to cost you $75 to make these units. So we can see before we really do the numbers that this is probably going to be a viable option, but we'll just crunch our numbers. So we have the 5,000 units, and they are going to be sold for $80 per unit, 400,000. Our expenses, we're going to have 5,000 units, and the expenses that we just calculated is $75, comes to 375,000, and the increase in operating income is $25,000. So based on just on the the quantitative side of things, you would definitely say yes, that you would take that special order and sell them the 500 units for $80. The only downside of this is if your regular customers who are paying you $250 per bench find out about it, they're not going to be very happy. So this is something you have to be mindful of, that this can't be a continuing way of doing business. You can't lower your price from $250 to $80 for everybody because you're not going to make enough to cover your fixed cost. However, if you have some capacity left, your facilities weren't fully deployed, so you had capacity, this is something the company should consider, is taking on a special order. But be mindful of the fact you're going to have to tell this customer who's making the offer for the 5,000 units at this lower price that this is like a one-time arrangement. They can't continue to order units of this nature for such a low price, but you're only doing it because you just happen to have some capacity available. So that concludes the example of accepting the special order.